body and an uppercut to the head, and Burbick is down. This one is going to be over, I believe. It's over. That's all, and we have a new era in boxing.
Once again looking for Howard. Davis with the 4 fouls. Howard blocked from behind by Robinson, and Daniels picks it up.
I think Davis is, boy,
he is shaken up big time. Joe Crawford trying to help out there. Boy, Davis looks a little disoriented.
They'll pick up Polamalu.
70 and 16, 11 seasons in the Big 12, and KU now trying to get back in this game. Big hole, man, a hit. Gideon is hurt. Gideon is hurt.
Concussion is a TBI or traumatic brain injury. It is a closed head injury or a head injury where the skull remains intact. In sports, a concussion is described as a closed head injury where an alteration in brain function is present. It occurs when a blow to the head causes the brain to slam against the skull. After a concussion, the damage to the brain causes altered brain function and onsets a flood of symptoms. Common concussion symptoms include headaches, nausea, loss of consciousness, dizziness, amnesia, slurred speech, balance problems, clumsiness, blurred or double vision, light sensitivity, ringing in the ears, and convulsions. Cognitive symptoms, which usually occur much later, are concentration problems, memory loss, feeling slow, not thinking straight, confusion, disorientation, slurred speech, vacant staring, and odd sleep patterns. Last, there are emotional symptoms, which are short-temperedness, sadness, nervousness or anxiousness, over-emotionalness, personality changes, crankiness, loss of interest in favorite activities, restlessness, or irritability. Each concussion will have a different combination of symptoms based on several different factors, including how severe the concussion was. A more severe concussion may end up in loss of consciousness by the victim. On average, a concussion takes around 3 to 7 days to recover from. When all symptoms are cleared, the victim has recovered from it.
Season a few years ago down in the dirt, and that pitch just hit Brian Johnson behind the Zanino. Can't believe what just happened.
and then as he comes back up, now watch, he'll hit Hester's leg right there. Well, that's what happened was Johnson was turned around. He didn't see the ball coming.
If a concussion may be recovered from so easily, why are they such a big deal? There are three main reasons concussions are important. First, concussion numbers are reaching epidemic levels. Second, too many young athletes are playing through concussions. And third, there can be unpleasant, long-lasting impacts from concussions.
Third in the NBA in shot blocking. And the Laker crowd fired up. And a shot. As Harden goes down. And Art
So let's take a peek. Oh, that's disgraceful.
Just a glance at the statistics will show how big of a problem concussions are in sports. 1.6 to 3.8 million concussions happen every year, leading the Center of Disease Control to conclude that concussions are at an epidemic level. Motor vehicle crashes and sports are the main culprits. According to two studies from 2010 and 2011, of every 100,000 athletic exposure, 68 football players, 38 lacrosse players, 26 soccer players, 20 wrestlers, and 16 basketball players will get a concussion. During a season of a full contact sport, there's a 5 to 10% chance of a concussion, and it could get as high as 20%. Full contact sports include football, ice hockey, wrestling, lacrosse, and martial arts. It has also been suggested that female athletes are more prone to concussions. Females tend to have higher concussion rates than males in sports where both genders play. For example, in high school soccer and basketball, females generally have more concussions sustained than males. One explanation is that females generally have weaker neck muscles and smaller head mass than males. Whatever the case, concussions are still huge for both genders in sports from youth to high school. 300,000 reported sports-related concussions occur every year, and 135,000 concussions result in a visit to the emergency room.
A magic mushroom cloud of care, a potion now to rock the boat will rock. Make Obama love,
This outbreak of concussions has high school athletes asking themselves a question that can concern their long-term health and even life or death. The question is, what do I do if I sustain a concussion? The answer can go one or two ways. The athlete either hides their concussion and keeps playing, or tells a coach or trainer. The safest thing to do is to admit you have a concussion and rest. Not reporting a concussion can result in dire consequences. Unfortunately, many athletes aren't reporting their concussions. So many that some experts are saying that the yearly concussion rates may be as much as double. Remaining in a sports contest after a concussion can result in a prolonging of symptoms called post-concussion syndrome. Symptoms may be prolonged weeks, months, years, or even can be installed permanently. Another condition, called second impact syndrome, happens after a second hit to the head after a concussion. The brain will swell up to the point where no oxygen can reach it, usually resulting in death. The athlete will have collapsed and be dead in a matter of minutes. It is a rare but not avoidable condition, as a little less than 100 of high school athletes have had this happen to them in the last decade. In any situation, it is always more important to rest the concussion and keep playing. But how does one know if they have a concussion? Athletes, as well as coaches, are being urged to recognize the signs and symptoms of a concussion. Many athletes don't know these signs and continue to play without knowing they have a concussion. Awareness will go a long way in the fight against concussions. While one concussion may present short-term problems, multiple concussions over a long period of time will affect health years after playing days are over. Adults who would suffer multiple concussions during their youth will feel the symptoms for the rest of their life. Multiple concussions are easy to get. An athlete that has suffered a concussion is 3 to 6 times more likely to suffer another one versus an athlete without a concussion. Around 20% of concussions sustained in basketball and soccer are repeat concussions. The problem is that every concussion piles up more brain damage. An athlete with one concussion will have better neurological function than one with two. A second concussion has been associated with slower recovery time and also tends to report more sleep-related problems than an athlete with only one concussion. These problems have directly affected the NFL, but on a much higher level. There are more than 1,500 ex-pro football players involved in lawsuits against the NFL. These 1,500 ex-NFL players are feeling the effects of multiple concussions years after their careers. Some NFL players suffer 4, 5, 6 plus concussions during their career. Instead of chronic headaches, these retirees are getting dementia. Dementia is a loss in brain function. A retired NFL player with dementia loses the ability to think clearly. A demented brain will have crazy chemical imbalances. These chemical imbalances often lead to depression. As a result, many NFL athletes are committing suicide. These athletes include Junior Seau, Andre Waters, Dave Duerson, Ray Easterling, Terry Long, and more. The actual cause of dementia in an athlete's brain can be attributed to a disease known as chronic traumatic encephalopathy. CTE is a progressive degenerative disease and is trademarked by a normal buildup of a protein called tau. It causes a degeneration of brain tissue to the point that the brain cannot function properly. A brain with CTE may shrink to half its size. This disease has not been found in general public and has only been found in athletes. It cannot be diagnosed until an autopsy.
This 15 millisecond impact is equivalent to getting smashed in the head with a sledgehammer. In the last 10 years.
You can never be too safe when dealing with a concussion. The best remedy for a concussion is rest. There is no concussion medication, nor is there any concussion-proof equipment. The best way to be safe from concussions is to be aware about the signs and symptoms of concussions. And if you ever get a concussion on a game, sit out, do not play. It will only get worse. Another way to be safe is playing with proper technique. If you're playing football, tackle the way your coach tells you to tackle. Do not tackle with your head going first. It is impossible to eliminate concussions from sports, but as more people are affected by them, we can only hope that people will start taking better precautions toward concussions.